Hey, welcome to Impress the Boss. I'm Catherine.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Valerie.
And we're here to help you stand out without working overtime. So this week, we're looking at Bobbie-Two Shoes. If you haven't had a chance, go back and listen to episode 12, where you'll get to know Bobbie-Two Shoes a little bit more. And if you're wondering about who are the Bobs or Bobbie-Two Shoes, go to episode 17, where we describe our workplace characters, the Bobs, and we'll dig into really what these workplace characters represent and how we've come up with these names and really why we're using them to represent different personalities in the workplace. So today we'll do a little review of who Bobbie-Two Shoes is. We'll get to meet an expert in the workplace and hear their feedback on the struggles of being a Bobbie-Two Shoes and the positives. And then we'll talk about a takeaway that you can implement in your own work. So Bobbie-Two Shoes is the episode 12, where I reveal myself to the world as a Bobbie-Two Shoes, and really that I identify with this type of personality. It is the Bible, is the HR, the Bobbie-Two Shoes Bible is the HR handbook, by the rules, following everything, and really mostly want people to be pleased with you. You don't want to experience rejection. You want people to be happy with what you're doing and the work that you're trying to accomplish. That can be good and bad. It can be good because you can bring a positive execution to the workplace. You're doing the right things that get the job done, but it also can be bad because you can be a little bit of that chameleon, and maybe your true self actually doesn't come out. So it's really important to learn that balance with the Bobbie-Two Shoes. So we'll get to hear some tips and tricks from our expert today. And
Yes.
Laurel, who are we getting to meet today?
We are so excited to have Sara McDaniel with us today. So the most humble Southern gal you'll ever meet is Sara, for sure. Originally a teacher, she went on to become a teacher of teachers and was incredibly successful in her role in that, but found that she had some unfulfilled dreams. So she set out to kind of determine what that would look like for her and what she wanted to focus on for her dreams and her goals. And in 2018, she left her full-time position as a teacher of teachers and dove into some entrepreneurial ventures and adventures, she would say as well, particularly into renovating a beat up and torn down or run down Louisiana cottage. And now you can find her and her cottage, Simply Southern Cottage. She has over 70,000 Instagram followers and social media followers who check in on all things Simply Southern Cottage. And she's been featured on the cover of Better Homes and Gardens magazine and has just really become seen now as an expert in this area of these Southern cottages. She also is newly working on a new cottage that is in development right now. So you can watch those efforts taking place. So we're super happy to have Sara McDaniel with us today for our interview. So take a listen into our interview with her.
So thank you, Sara, for joining the Impress the Boss show today. We're really excited to have you. You're our maybe not only interviewee, but the one that's worn black to really represent our brand. So thank you. I've been perusing your Instagram and really seeing what you're up to and just the creativity that you bring and everything that the life that you bring is just very energizing. It's very engaging. So we're really excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So as you know, we're talking about Bobbie-Two Shoes and this type of personality. And I wanted to know from your perspective, when you think about being a Bobbie-Two Shoes or working with Bobbie-Two Shoes or this type of dynamic, what are some of the pitfalls that Bobbie-Two Shoes in your perspective might run into?
Yeah, so anybody that knows me well knows that I am a rule follower. So I do follow that, HR handbook, and that can be an absolute pitfall because it means that a lot of times I'm afraid to take a risk, even if I know that the risk is the right decision. Wildly successful, positive results, I just tend to stay within the rules and not step out and break them to get that positive result.
I totally identify with that, obviously, because I'm the Bobbie-Two Shoes persona. And it's hard. It's hard when you get, locked in and you want people to be happy with what you're doing and you want to execute well. So it's definitely a challenge. So in your perspective, what's one good thing that a Bobbie-Two Shoes is really good at and really should lean into in the workplace environment?
Well, I have to tell you, and you guys probably know this, but bosses really tend to love like rule followers, right? And so, what I've experienced is the times that I have followed the rules, it makes my bosses very happy. And I moved up in my career very quickly. So, obviously, there were times that I did break the rules, but our bosses love rule followers. And so I would move up the chain or, get promoted very quickly. But I also think it's important for me and for others to really like lean into who you are. And a quote that I love very much is you do you. You do who you are, and people are going to love you for that. You don't want to be a phony or a fake and then project some image that is not true to who you are. So lean into really who you are.
I like that. And that's really what you exhibit in your own brand is this sense of authenticity and realness and wanting to connect with, your followers and your listeners. I think that's really important because you can lose yourself. You can lose yourself in the rules and just wanting people to be pleased with you.
Exactly.
So what's your number one tip for Bobbie-Two Shoes for everyone that's listening that identifies with this type of personality?
So this is really like the pot calling the kettle black. But I think that you should follow the rules because obviously rules are in place for a reason. But I think that you also have to give yourself grace to bend those rules when necessary, because there may be times that bending the rules could mean something amazing is going to happen for you, for your boss, for your clients. And one of the like philosophies, I guess, that I tend to lean toward a lot of times is that it's better to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission. And so I think just give yourself grace. And if you see an opportunity to bend those rules and break away from that Bobbie-Two Shoes for the benefit of all involved, you should totally do it.
Thank you, Sara. Thanks for the feedback and the insight today. We're really excited to see where your own journey goes, especially in these next couple months. And we appreciate you taking the time to speak to our followers.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Wow, that was just a great interview with Sara, and she definitely exhibits a Bobbie-Two Shoes with being so real, authentic. And the biggest takeaway that I take from her interview is that when she says, you do you. And I think for anybody who is a Bobbie-Two Shoes, that is a rule to live by, is just be you. Be who you are, and don't be afraid, as Sara said, to sometimes break the rules. And I also appreciated the fact that Sara said sometimes with Bobbie-Two Shoes that they are afraid of taking a risk and afraid of breaking a rule or a policy. And sometimes when you do break a rule or a policy that you don't know the outcome of it is going to be. And so I just appreciate just the takeaways that we can get from Sara and the action point that I take personally is to, as a worker or a co-worker, is to not be afraid to be the real me, not be afraid to exhibit just who we are. And also, if you are a Bobbie-Two Shoes, to take a risk, break a rule and see what happens.
Just make sure it's like a rule that you can break, not a rule that you shouldn't break.
Sure, right. But
yeah. Like PTO policy, don't break that rule.
But Sara did say, didn't she, in her interview, that it is better to ask for forgiveness, than permission. So
that's true.
No, but in all seriousness, you're right.
Yeah. The thing I think about being a Bobbie-Two Shoes is it's not so much that it's the rule, it's the perception, like breaking through the perception of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do these things, and sometimes those things aren't you. So how do you break through that and really excel at what you're good at and your skills and what you have to offer, or not being afraid to assert those areas of yourself as well.
Yeah. I think I like too how it brings up just kind of that saying of not focusing on the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. Yes. And that just in all of what she talked about, just making sure that you're focusing on, okay, what's the spirit behind this versus like, I have to do it because it's black and white, but it's like, okay, look and see what the wiggle room is in it and why, what's the intent behind it or the purpose behind it.
Because her tip was actually try and follow the rules and see where that gets you at work.
Yep.
But the Bobbie-Two Shoes, even though I'm a rule follower, the thought of rules is almost suffocating too. Yeah. So thinking that returning to the spirit of the rule or the spirit of things, I think is an important reminder. Then it's not boxing you in. It's meant to enable you, meant for you to succeed. And I think it's that it's not so much following the rule. It's that you're accomplishing what's important to your boss. So if this is important to your boss and you're doing the things that are important to your boss, that's going to bring favor. That's going to bring opportunity because you're dedicating yourself to what's important to the organization as well.
And I think to end that, she did say that she was able to move up the corporate ladder or move up into her career just by being a rule follower, because she did say the secret sauce there that bosses do love people who follow rules, and I think that's a good takeaway too. Is if you are a rule follower, it's only good for you. You know, it's just going to get the best of you when you follow the rules. Yeah.
So this week, I mean, it's kind of a weird tip. Go follow a rule. But actually, think about what's in your life at your work. Maybe it's not a rule, but something that's important to your boss. Yeah. How can you adjust this week to really execute on something that's important to him or her? And what are the results? So share your story at using #ImpressTheBoss. And don't forget to follow Sara on Simply Southern Charm or Simply Sara. Did I get that right, Laurel?
Simply Southern Cottage.
Oh, thank you.
Or Simply Sara.
Or Simply Sara. She's amazing. Her creativity is out of this world. It's just so inspiring to see. And we think you'll be inspired by her as well. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on social for your daily standout tips, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and don't forget to use the #ImpressTheBoss and share your journey with us. And until next time, Bob's out.